A boat maintenance facility is set to be built by the United States Navy at the Philippine Naval Detachment Oyster Base in Palawan.
In this exercise, this is Warship 119, standing by on channel.
The recent decision by the U.S. Department of Defense to allocate funds for the development of the Philippine Naval Base at Oyster Bay in Palawan is emblematic of a broader shift in U.S.-Philippines defense cooperation, one defined by technological innovation, maritime logistics, and the urgent realities of China's assertiveness in the South China Sea. Palawan's geography, directly facing the contested waters of the West Philippine Sea, highlights why the base's modernization under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, is pivotal to regional security and deterrence. At the core of this initiative is a Pentagon contract awarded to Ace Builders, Inc., a project valued at $975,000. Modest in scale, but strategically targeted toward enhancing small boat and unmanned vessel maintenance. This investment signals the asymmetric turn in Allied defense strategy, shifting emphasis from massive bases to nimble capabilities like rigid-hulled inflatable boats and MARTAC unmanned surface vessels. Assets designed to expand surveillance and complicate adversary maneuvers. Oyster Bay itself has long served as Manila's primary hub for resupply and patrol operations in the West Philippine Sea, staging missions to critical outposts such as the BRP Sierra Madre at 2nd Thomas Shoal. By upgrading this site, Washington and Manila are securing the reliability of a facility central to sustaining frontline operations.
Thank you for your support in this exercise. This is Warship 119, standing by on channel 16, changing course, support 010, over.
Complementing construction, the U.S. continues to provide cutting-edge equipment, from drones to USVs, while embedding trainers to integrate Philippine operators into advanced command and control systems. This project is part of a broader infrastructure investment under EDCA, where the Pentagon has committed over $100 million and, alongside additional foreign military financing, is helping transform 9 Philippine sites into a forward operating network of runways, command centers, and maritime hubs. These efforts are driven by the need to counter China's gray zone tactics, Coast Guard blockades, water cannon harassment, and militia swarming that have escalated dramatically in skirmishes around 2nd Thomas and Sabina Shoal since 2023. Importantly, Oyster Bay is not alone. A new site at Balabac Island in southern Palawan extends Philippine reach deeper into the Spratlys, providing faster launch points and forward posturing that complement Oyster Bay's northern presence. Together, these bases form a dual axis of deterrence, allowing rapid deployment of small craft and unmanned systems toward flashpoints, while reducing reliance on older, distant ports. Ultimately, the Oyster Bay upgrade is not about scale, but about strategy. Moving away from traditional U.S. security assistance toward a modern, integrated posture of distributed assets, unmanned technologies, and resilient infrastructure. In doing so, Washington and Manila are creating the architecture of credible deterrence backed by the ironclad Mutual Defense Treaty that strengthens Philippine sovereignty and sets the foundation for a more sophisticated balance of power in the South China Sea. The location of Oyster Bay in northern Palawan is of immense strategic value. Palawan directly faces the contested waters of the South China Sea, known in the Philippines as the West Philippine Sea, where China has fortified artificial islands and expanded its Coast Guard and maritime militia operations. From Palawan's coastline, Philippine forces project influence into some of the most hotly contested maritime zones, including the Spratly Islands and 2nd Thomas Shoal. This geography explains why the U.S. and the Philippines have placed such emphasis on developing Palawan under the framework of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. The EDCA, signed in 2014 and revitalized in recent years, grants U.S. forces rotational access to agreed locations across the Philippines. In 2023, the number of such sites expanded to 9, reflecting a mutual recognition that the South China Sea has become a frontline theater of competition. Unlike traditional basing agreements, EDCA does not establish permanent U.S. bases. Instead, it enables the construction of shared facilities and infrastructure improvements that can be used by both forces, maintaining Philippine sovereignty while strengthening the alliance. The upgrades at Oyster Bay therefore fall squarely within the broader U.S. commitment to help modernize Philippine military infrastructure, while ensuring rapid and flexible forward deployment capabilities. At the core of this development lies a specific contract awarded by the U.S. Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command Pacific. The recipient of the contract, Ace Builders, Inc., a New Mexico-based construction firm, has been tasked with the design and construction of a small boat maintenance facility at Oyster Bay. The project is valued at $975,000 USD, a relatively modest figure compared to other EDCA projects, but one with outsized significance. For instance, at Basa Air Base, another EDCA site, the U.S. invested over $32 million to develop runways and storage facilities. By contrast, the Oyster Bay project, though smaller in financial terms, is focused on specialized capabilities, the repair and maintenance of small craft and unmanned systems. This reveals a critical dimension of the U.S. strategy in Palawan. Rather than prioritizing massive infrastructure alone, the emphasis here is on tactical readiness, ensuring that small, mobile, and technologically advanced assets are combat-ready in the very waters where China's assertiveness is most pronounced. In this sense, the project at Oyster Bay demonstrates the logic of asymmetric defense, investing relatively small sums to create capabilities that yield disproportionately high strategic impact. The most striking feature of the Oyster Bay contract is its explicit focus on supporting small boats and unmanned surface vessels, USVs. The facility's specifications outline infrastructure capable of servicing vessels up to 11.6 meters, 38 feet, in length.
China Coast Guard, this is Philippine Coast Guard. We are conducting marine scientific research activity. Please keep clear with us for safety.
This category includes rigid-hulled inflatable boats, RHIDBs, assault boats used by the Philippine Marine Corps, and critically, unmanned platforms such as the Martac Mantas T-12 USV. The Mantas T-12, for instance, is a 12-foot unmanned craft designed for speed, agility, and modular payload capacity. When deployed in swarms or in coordination with crewed vessels, USVs serve as force multipliers, vastly expanding maritime domain awareness, MDA, while posing a complicating factor for adversaries. U.S. officials have openly stated that the goal is for Manila to run this facility with unmanned surface vessels. This reflects an emerging doctrine in U.S.-Philippines cooperation. Rather than attempting to match China ship-for-ship in conventional terms, the Allies will prioritize low-cost, high-impact technologies that exploit China's vulnerabilities in surveillance, logistics, and close-in coastal operations. For Manila, Oyster Bay has long been a crucial staging ground. The Naval Detachment Oyster Bay is one of the Philippine Navy's primary operational hubs for resupply and patrols in the West Philippine Sea. From this base, resupply missions are launched to sustain outposts on contested features, most famously the BRP Sierra Madre, LT-57, grounded at 2nd Thomas Shoal. Oyster Bay also serves as the launch point for Cyclone-class patrol boats and fast attack craft, which conduct deterrence patrols and shadowing operations against Chinese vessels. The reliance on Oyster Bay underscores the importance of ensuring that the base's infrastructure is modern, resilient, and adaptable. Given its proximity to flashpoints like 2nd Thomas Shoal and Sabina Shoal, any delays in readiness or resupply can translate into vulnerabilities. By upgrading Oyster Bay with facilities for small boats and USVs, the U.S. and the Philippines are essentially future-proofing the base, ensuring it can sustain operations in the face of heightened Chinese harassment and blockade attempts. The Oyster Bay project is not an isolated initiative. It fits into a broader pattern of capacity-building efforts by the United States to equip and train the Philippine Armed Forces. In recent years, the U.S. has transferred not only RHIBs and small patrol vessels, but also advanced unmanned systems. Reports suggest that at least 4 to 5 Martak Mantis T-12 USVs have been delivered under security assistance packages. Alongside equipment transfers, the U.S. has also embedded forward-deployed task forces to train Philippine operators, particularly in Palawan.
We're in a Fiery Cross Reef, which is a part of the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. Currently what we're looking at is some construction on a landing.
These efforts integrate the unmanned systems into the Western Command's Fusion Center, which serves as the nerve center for real-time information sharing, surveillance feeds, and tactical coordination in the contested maritime theater. This layered approach, combining physical assets, infrastructure upgrades, and training, highlights the U.S. philosophy of building partner capacity. The goal is not merely to provide hardware, but to ensure that the Philippine military can operate, maintain, and integrate new technologies into their doctrine. In doing so, the U.S. ensures sustainability and interoperability, two crucial factors in long-term deterrence. The Oyster Bay contract is part of a larger suite of EDCA-related infrastructure projects. The Pentagon has committed over $100 million to developing facilities across the 9 agreed sites. Beyond this, senior U.S. officials announced an additional $128 million in EDCA funding, complemented by a historic $500 million foreign military financing package aimed at modernizing the armed forces of the Philippines. These investments cover a wide range of facilities, from runways and fuel storage to command posts and hangars. Together, they form an interlinked network of forward operating sites designed to enable rapid deployment, logistical resilience, and interoperability with U.S. forces. The Oyster Bay project, while modest in cost, plays a central role in this network by ensuring that frontline operations in the West Philippine Sea are supported by resilient and specialized infrastructure.
Next day in Washington, a first step is taken in the direction demanded by Dewey as the United States and the Philippines sign a mutual defense treaty.
The ultimate strategic aim of these efforts is clear: to establish credible deterrence against China. The U.S. has repeatedly affirmed that its 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, MDT, obligations extend to the South China Sea, including attacks on Philippine armed forces, vessels, and aircraft. By investing in infrastructure like Oyster Bay, Washington signals both resolve and readiness. China's tactics, deploying Coast Guard vessels, maritime militia, and artificial island bases, are designed to incrementally assert control without crossing thresholds that would trigger a military response. By contrast, U.S.-Philippine cooperation is now centered on disrupting this gray zone strategy through enhanced surveillance, rapid response, and distributed assets. Unmanned systems, fast boats, and forward sights all serve to complicate China's calculations, making it riskier for Beijing to escalate harassment without encountering a swift Allied counter-response. The urgency of these upgrades cannot be understood without reference to the dramatic maritime confrontations of 2023 and 2024. At Second Thomas Shoal, Chinese Coast Guard vessels repeatedly used water cannons, aggressive ramming, and shadowing tactics to block Philippine resupply missions. At Sabina Shoal, similar maneuvers threatened Philippine vessels attempting to assert presence. These incidents shocked domestic and international audiences, underscoring both the vulnerability and the resilience of Philippine forces. In response, the U.S. accelerated EDCA projects and increased joint exercises with the Philippines. By demonstrating commitment on the ground in the form of construction contracts and military presence, the U.S. provided tangible reassurance to Manila that it would not stand alone in the face of Chinese coercion. The Oyster Bay contract is not the only development in Palawan. A new EDCA site on Balabac Island, located at the southern tip of the province, is under development. Balabac offers a strategic vantage point toward the southern Spratlys and provides a staging area closer to flashpoints. Infrastructure projects there include barracks, maintenance sheds, and fuel storage facilities, all designed to reduce deployment times and sustain prolonged operations. Together, Oyster Bay and Balabac form a north-south axis of forward posturing, effectively creating a Philippine pincer of presence across the West Philippine Sea. The Pentagon's $975,000 contract for Oyster Bay may appear modest in numerical terms, but its symbolic and strategic significance is immense. It embodies the shift from traditional, large-scale U.S. assistance to a modern, decentralized, and technology-driven partnership. By focusing on small boats, unmanned systems, and forward facilities, the U.S. and the Philippines are pioneering an asymmetric deterrence strategy tailored to the realities of the South China Sea. As skirmishes with China escalate and the geopolitical stakes rise, the Philippines' ability to assert its sovereign rights will increasingly depend on such investments. Backed by the ironclad U.S. security guarantee, these efforts do not guarantee peace, but they enhance deterrence by raising the costs of aggression. In the years ahead, Oyster Bay and other EDCA sites will serve as both physical and symbolic testaments to a revitalized U.S.-Philippine alliance, one that is agile enough to meet the demands of 21st century maritime conflict